Welcome to this session of effective strategies for purchasing equipment and maintaining it. Kasturi has come. And I really thank the audience, whoever it is. Even those who are standing there, you are helping us because during lunchtime, so many people are there. Thanks a lot. But people can come in. This is going to be a very interactive session. There is no PowerPoint display. It's only we have got a panel so experienced, we are going to gain out of that. It's only a question answer session and how we are going to buy equipment and how to maintain it. So for that, we have invited Dr. Arvind Srinivasan from CHEN-EYE, and who has got an excellent experience in running bigger hospitals, bigger projects. And Dr. Sriram Gopal, a hardcore private practitioner who has done really well, has got an empty knowledge in the purchasing equipment, who has been mentored to so many private practitioners. And Dr. Thamizharasan Senthil, who is an entrepreneur by nature, who got a think about business in any practice or how to survive it. And apart from that, I have two important people who are non-medical people, but who have got excellent experience in equipment. One is Mr. Suresh, who is an ex-Alcon chief, and now he is a consultant. I want the business side of the whole process, how a business views us and how they are selling it. There are a lot of confusion, misconception about these things that I think he'll be clarifying it. And I got Ms. Kasturi, who has got 20 years experience running an instrument maintenance lab and a lot of research work on instrumentation in Arvind. So we have an excellent panel. It's up to you to utilize this. Welcome. So I'll start with a general question. For a new practitioner as well as an existing running hospital, buying equipment is always a major investment. But how to buy? Is it by brand or price or my need? Is there any protocol that we can follow that you are following? Sriram, you can start with that for a private practitioner.
Okay. Any equipment we buy depreciates. So it's a depreciating investment. It's not like real estate. So depreciating investment is always bought on need and not want. It is not that I want to have a LASIK. If I buy a LASIK, I'll burn my fingers. If I need a LASIK, if I have enough practice or I hope to have enough practice in LASIK, I'll buy a LASIK. Or let us not aim that big. Simple thing, an OCT, because now OCT is becoming very common with practitioners. Everybody wants to have an OCT, but do you have enough practice to justify you having an OCT? So it is based on need, because 5 years minimum, maximum 7-8 years, that a piece of equipment is going to go to dust. You will have to reinvest again. So you should have ideally taken your money out at least by the 3rd or 4th year, so that last 2 or 3 years of the equipment, you at least make some money out of it. So you should buy it on need and not on want.
But is there any criterion that you fix if you buy an equipment like that? What are the things that you look for? Say, or A-scan biometer or a phaco machine. Is there anything that you look for?
So the problem in ophthalmology is not every equipment will earn you money. For example, if you have an OCT, you can charge for the OCT, you can charge 1,000, 2,000 and earn money out of it. Let us say you want to buy a non-contact tonometer. You're going to put it as a part of your OPD package. So it depends on what type of equipment you buy. This is a general rule, but you cannot generalize it to everything you buy. So when you buy an equipment, first thing you need to look at is whether you need it or not. And second thing is, how is it going to either add a value or add more revenue, or sometimes both. A phaco machine will add both value and revenue. A NCT will not add revenue, it will add value. So these are two different things.
Dr. Arvind, do you have any say in that?
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. I think, in ophthalmology is a very capital intensive profession. Right? Anybody who starts a practice, assuming that it's an individual practitioner, maybe a husband and wife, starting a practice, the most amount of money they will spend, maybe interior they may spend, they may rent a building, but it will all be on equipments. I think what I agree with Dr. Sriram, I think we'll have to look at it, maybe look at it in two perspectives. One is what you need, like what he said. The other is what is good to have. OCT may be good to have for a beginning practitioner. What may be important is to have a set of equipments which is like a good slit lamp, non-contact, a good biometer, good microscope. They can even go and operate elsewhere. They don't have to add to their capital at front. So they also have to realize what capital they'll have to put up front Before deciding which equipment and all of that, they should decide on that. And then go about these things. And you should pace yourself, because as they said, the timeline for an equipment today is 7 or 8 years, as was pointed out. Some of these equipments, you will never earn that kind of money. But they also add value to the patients in terms of quality, outcome. So I would rather focus on brands which have sustained over a longer period of time, instead of only looking at the price as a criteria. Even if you pay a little bit more, I'm not talking about big equipments, talking about good non-contact tonometer, autorefractor, a slit lamp, the baseline equipment, a good entry-level microscope, a good entry-level phaco machine. There they should not compromise. Where then, when they get money, when they're doing well, they get about like 60, 70 patients a day or 80 patients, then that is the time they will look for an OCT, they may look for something. Then they can play a little be more
There are
competitive.
two things in this. If I have this mission, I have a feeling it will improve my practice. So in that case, I want to invest. Is it right? Or should I develop that volume then to afford that mission? These are the two things we are get confused.
I mean, I'll give my sense. I belong to an institution, so I may not have all the perspective, but it is easy to get caught in a game. You catch your own tail, because when you're a beginning practitioner, if you invest that kind of money, then you're also forced to bring in practices which may not be healthy, which may work against you. People will, the community will say, "Anga pona idhe test lam pannite irpan." That kind of reputation may not be warranted. So they have to just pace themselves, is what I would think. But I'm sure other practitioners can add value.
Yes, Dr. Sendel.
I think you brought a very important point. Basically, particularly considering LASIK, many people think if I buy a LASIK machine, then my LASIK volume will increase. So, incidentally, we had one meeting of almost 100 LASIK owners. 85-90% of them said, "Sir, we are not making money from the LASIK machine, but our cataract income is feeding into the LASIK." So, unless, in fact, one of the top LASIK surgeons said, if you have a potential, or if you're already referring 20-25 LASIKs in a month or 30 LASIKs, that is when you buy a LASIK machine. Or else somebody might refer only 3-4, but he will buy a LASIK machine thinking that if I have the machine, then the number of LASIKs will increase. But most of the time it works in the reverse. And doctors feel that they mostly pay from the cataract income into LASIK. Other thing is, emotionally, it is like if I have a LASIK machine, people will think me as a big practitioner. It adds more flavor to my practice. I think many times people also get, if a doctor earns money, has a surplus of say 2 crore rupees, then he immediately feels, okay, let me have a LASIK machine so that people think me as a big
We always
center.
had this. Previously, we used to advise a lot of other businesses, air conditioned, then it is computerized, then it is now laser is the new flavor. So it adds to that practice. So are we coming out of that or still stuck with that?
Yeah. One more point on the branding. I think as we discussed before also, majority of the times in ophthalmology, there is a monopoly of the brand in each equipment. For example, if you take autorefractor, we don't have more than one choice. So I think YAG laser or even green laser, we don't have multiple. So the companies also have that upper hand in that. So we have also created that monopoly. So maybe don't get into that only one brand game. Maybe there is a slightly alternative brand which might be on a cheaper side also. So give them also that opportunity rather than everybody buying one particular brand. I think
But we also have that, like Arvind said, time tested, so we go by that, and their service reliability. So investing on a newer brand, we are not get confused, and we don't know what is going to be the lifeline, because there is no referral point. So we don't do that. In that case, how to decide on that? Is there any criterion that when we negotiate, we are safeguarded on that?
So basically, I think get the user feedback. If there is an alternative brand, maybe there are 20 other doctors, 50 people who are using that alternative brand, which might be at a cheaper rate also. So for example, autorefractor, there is one top brand, but there are equally, I will say 99% effective brands, which are even made in China, equally performing at half the price.
Again, this is also, if the company is the origin, where it is, we always tend to any brand. The newer brand, we are afraid because Any investment is heavy.
Two things. One, I'll go back to what Dr. Arvind said about time tested and all that. Yes, I partly agree with Dr. Arvind and partly with Dr. Sendil as well. You should go for time tested, but you should also, I wouldn't say try out, you should also look at other brands. Not try out, look at other brands. How I will go between deciding between something, two things I wouldn't do. I would never go for a brand alone. Just because my competitor has that, I wouldn't go for a brand. That I wouldn't do. Second thing, I would never go for cheap. Value for money, you can go, but don't go for cheap because it will never last. So if you pay peanuts, you know what you'll get. What I generally think is, if the quality of the equipment is going to alter the outcome, say a phaco machine, an A scan, unreliable A scan, you'll have bad results. Phaco machine is bad, you'll have bad results. I will not compromise much on that. Whereas, let us say a non-contact tonometer. It is just a screening tool. Just because I get a few error, to 5 out of 10 out of 100 patients are getting an error on a NCT, it doesn't change my outcome in any way. I'm always going to counter check and take care, a little bit extra. So if the outcome for the patient management is not going to be changed, I will compromise a bigger amount on quality. But if it is going to compromise on the outcome, I will not compromise on quality at all. That is how I will go about it.
Mr. Suresh, what is your say on that?
Basically, thank you for having me on the panel first. Basically, today the industry gives you a lot of options. There are plenty of bells and whistles. If I were to suggest to anybody to go, they need to quantify first technically. When I say technically, they should quantify it with their brain on what they should have. They cannot have a mixture of brain and heart. When I say heart, it is, it is substance which you can have, would like to have, but really does not contribute to the.
It's not emotionally.
It is not.
involved.
Yes. It is. Yes. And many a times, what we find is people pay for emotional buys, which is where the whole thing goes wrong. So if you and when you go into this sort of a purchase, everything from your own competence on the procedure, the contribution that you have on the procedure, all this contributes to the decision is what I would suggest. Okay, let me talk about two different things. A phaco machine, you got a 50% performance or a 60% performance from the surgeon and a 40% support from the machine. On exam laser, 70 to 80% by the machine and 30 to 40% by the thing. Both this also does play a very critical role in making your decision. On an exam laser, go in for the best, because otherwise you have compromises. In a surgical this thing where you choose what are the features that are absolutely required, what is your stage of practice or your competence, and then you decide what you need to invest in.
Next is the pricing, how to negotiate. Because there is always a thing, I don't tell what price I bought, and you don't tell me what price. Why is it that clouding? Why don't we be transparent? What stops us, Sendil? I have a lot of questions for you later.
So I think basically, see, my friend has a pain management clinic in the US. So he doesn't buy anything. There are, say, 50, 100 consumables he has to buy every month. But what he says is, I will not buy anything by directly calling the company. So he is a member of one buying group called Premier. So Premier has got its own associated, so there are multi-billion-dollar purchase groups in the US now. So he will go and then order through the Premier website or even the vendor website where he puts that code and he gets. So there is he doesn't have to negotiate for pricing because Premier has worked out these contracts. So India, that concept is still not coming up, but still even at initial stages, what we can do, one thing the companies try to do is, sir, I give you the special price. You don't talk about this to anybody. So even if but actually that's not true. We are not getting any special price. But when our colleague is asking, we don't want to reveal that price. I think that is one biggest hurdle which we understood.
Another thing that I want to concentrate is how to negotiate the warranty, AMC, CMC. So many things are there. We are not sure how these things work. And we generally try to avoid, because we know we want to pay the machine, but we usually do not like to pay for the other things. Is it right?
Two things, sir. Like Dr. Arvind is talking, he has a weight of an organization behind him. He's going to give him the many orders. So they'll be more pliable there. But for individuals like me, it is very difficult. So in that scenario, maybe if when I'm starting off, it wouldn't have worked. But now that I'm established and running, the first rule is cash is king. So I don't ask them for any delayed payment or anything. I tell them, I keep the checkbook on the table and say, if you're okay with this price, I'll give you the check right now. You can walk out of my room with a check. I think that is the one which gets the price down maximum, because he goes home with the deal in his hand. I don't tell him I'll give you a deferred payment, I'll go, you come back tomorrow, I'll go ask bank for a loan. No, cash is king. Immediate payment always gets you the best price. First thing. Second thing, with regards to the earlier discussion, there's a difference between cost of purchase and cost of ownership. The cost of purchase is what you pay on day one for the machine. The cost of ownership is what you end up shelling out from your pocket when the machine's life is over. So that will include the initial cost, it will include all the consumables, it will include all the AMCs built into it. So this is cost of ownership. A lot of people don't look at the cost of ownership of a machine, they only look at the cost of purchase of a machine, which is where most people make a mistake. And like you said, the other things, bundling, all these things. Deferred payment, if you are going to get deferred payment, well and good from the company. But a lot of companies don't offer, you can try negotiating. Regarding other bundlings and deals, this is like going to a, what do you call it, gambling center. The house always wins. No deal, there's no bundling deal where you think you made a winning. No, it never happens. The company always wins. Best is to stay away from that. If at all you are going to go ahead, ensure you're not, the cost of ownership is not increased. Like you have to look at it cumulatively. And second thing, don't try to meet their target. You have a routine flow. Let us say you're able to do 100 IOLs a month. Negotiate for a deal for 60, 70 IOLs a month. That is more than enough. So you need not go do that extra effort to work for the company. Is my point.
Ms. Kasturi, what is your take? You have done a lot of negotiation contract with the companies, how they are doing it. What is your take on this AMC, CMC? How should I go about it?
So actually, whenever we invest more money, like the equipment like phaco machines and the victotomy machines and all, it's preferably to get AMC or CMC. It's better to get CMC. So the contracts will work well in that high expensive equipment. Rather, other equipment like autorefractometer, NCT, microscope, if you have a trained person with you to give care and maintenance, then there is no need to have the contracts, either AMC or CMC.
Okay. Mr. Suresh, what is your take on this?
Just to come back on all the 3 points, as an industry person, let me tell you, we need to realize that there is no free meal on the face of this earth. Negotiation is the basic topic, and he himself said, sir said that you can go in for a list price. Why is it negotiation a predominant factor here in India? Because that's what the industry has encouraged and people are listening. But let me from industry perspective, there is a base price for every equipment. If we stop going to that table with that perspective on negotiating, you will, over a period of time, since there's going to be a transition, you will come to a situation where you get a fixed price, which you can talk about openly. Today, wearing a Louis Philippe shirt, you don't negotiate for it. If you don't want a Louis Philippe shirt, you want a local thing, that is also available. But bottom line is that every product has got a base price, and nobody will sell below that price.
Because you have also done for government also a lot of things. There they have a strict rule and you have to buy that. For a private practitioner, it's a different thing. But you are able to manage both successfully. How was that?
That is basically because in the government, when you quote, you stay with that quote. That's an open quote. In practices, when we go into practices, I've been in the practices for 30 years. Everybody has got their own style, their own expectation, their own, ballpoint number to negotiate to. Some people say 10, 12, but so all this is, I mean, as a salesperson, I also, when I go to a negotiation, I also understand the trend of that particular person's ask and build into that over the base price that I'm supposed to get. Nobody will retain me in my company, in a company, if I were to sell below that price. So it is more illusion that is being catered to, and they very smartly work that out in a manner that, you know, they give you all the combinations. No two deals will be the same. That's
So
how
that's
the
what,
technical guys
that's
deal.
what confusing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no two deals will be the same. So the base price will be achieved by every salesman, otherwise he will not sustain in the. So one thing, ideal situation is to get into a place where we accept a price and be open about it.
Okay.
Maybe
Yeah.
I can share our experience on. So, because this phaco machine was most important purchase for an individual ophthalmologist, there is always concern to the doctor that did I pay the right price, or did Dr. Panisalam get it at a lower price. So, from the doctor side also, the negotiation was too much where companies couldn't sell. Sometimes say the base price is 20 lakhs, but doctors keep negotiating for 16 lakhs, which is not possible. So the process of purchases getting prolonged. So we went to this top selling phaco machine company, and we said, sir, see, we have this group of doctors. Only thing we want is you offer us, one thing is good service, good kind of knowledge sharing to the doctor. Second thing is, give us the price which will be the lowest, and this should be the lowest which nobody else can get. If somebody produces a lower invoice than this, then we make sure that the difference pricing you have to refund. So
Excellent.
that worked very well. Almost 200 doctors every year buy
Bulk
this
purchase.
phaco machine through the group.
So another thing is it wise or prudent to purchase a refurbished machine? We said we are buying car, but why not the machines? What is wrong in it?
Um, okay. A good refurbishing machine is as good as a new one. The longevity of the lifespan will be lesser. Okay, for example, any of the reputed companies going in for a refurbishment have got certain standards, which is a part of the throughput. Only then they will put their name on it. It's like True Value in Maruti.
Correct. So
Okay,
that's what.
just giving you that. I'm not saying every refurbishing this thing has got those standards. Okay.
Okay.
So a company refurbished machine can be depended upon.
Because I cannot afford a brand new machine because my practice cannot afford that. But with a refurbished machine come, because as an institution I need it. So is it right for me to go for a refurbished machine in that level? Because I want to reduce the cost, but at the same time I don't want to give a poor quality.
I think refurbished is not a bad thing. You know, like even in Arvind, we buy refurbished.
Oh really? Oh.
So we bought, Smile is our refurbished Smile.
Oh.
We got a FS 200.
Okay.
So I think if some of the products, if the company gives you a guarantee and they cover the complete maintenance cost, why not go into
Well,
that?
that's a good thing because that's what putting us all off. Well,
Yeah.
Since that LASIK machine is very costly, I am totally out. I got a postgraduate students who are totally ignorant of graphics, and I don't even go to that hall because I'm left out of ophthalmology.
But I think there are two things here, right? So I think the baseline practice, I think you should go for good equipments, new, maybe a budget of 25 lakhs. I'm not talking more than that. OPD equipments and a good biometry. That you should not compromise. You know, you should get good. Even if you negotiate, what are you going to, another 2 lakhs? I think you should put that energy into practice.
Okay.
See patients better, spend time with them. Saving 2 lakhs here, you will lose and you will always feel cheated. I think once you close a deal, you should just close it.
Okay.
Don't go back and look at a deal and say this fellow has got better. There's no end to this. Somebody would get better than you and they may have another value. So I think the point is refurbished is not bad. Good companies, if they stand behind the product, I think it is welcome. Second, doctors should also understand what is must have and what is luxury to have. I mean, like nobody will buy a first car as a Mercedes car. A lot of us speaking, can you buy a luxury car at a pre-owned? I said, fine. But not an entry level, first level Maruti or something. You don't want to spend more money on maintenance and all that. So that's the point of it.
Another thing important is when to replace. Is it better to repair and keep on running, or I should replace it? At what point I should? Because keeping that outdated machine, I cannot sell it, and it occupies a real estate space in my clinic. It's reminding me, wow, how can I do that? It has happened to everybody. What is your take on that?
First thing, outdated is a very relative term. A company, every 2 years, your machine gets outdated, or even more frequent than that. So that is no reason to replace your machine. As long as it is performing well, as long as you're able to get the desired results, there is no reason to replace, how much ever old it is. There will be other reasons you need to replace. For example, you might be running out of consumables. The spare support may not be there. So you don't want your primary FECU machine. If the company support is stopped, you're not able to get spares, you're not able to get cassettes. That is your breadwinner. You
Should
cannot
I
get
wait till that, or is there any time frame that the cars, they say 7 years or 5 years, we have a tendency to replace the car?
There is a definite legal this thing for that. Once a machine is discontinued, you'll have to supply, if I'm not mistaken, 5 years or 7 years, your company is supposed to support legally, internationally, not only in India. Internationally, you're supposed to support with spares and service. So you know when the machine, for example, Accurus, I think, was stopped sometime in 2012 until 19, the support was there. So like this, there is a definite time frame. It is not any vague this thing. It doesn't matter when you bought the machine. The company should have stopped the production.
Ms. Kasturi, do you have anything on that?
Yes, sir, I agree with that point. So whenever they stop whenever they said it is a outdated model, then they support for 5 to 7 years for the spares and consumables. So until we can use the machine, until the machine performance is okay, then we can use the machine. So whenever it gives more frequent repairs after its lifetime. So every equipment has a lifetime of 8 to 12 years. So after that lifetime, if it gives more frequent repairs, then that's the time to replace the equipment.
So I can keep doing that, or I can
Uh,
keep it as a, how to foresee my need. So because one is a technological advancement. Every year we come with a newer thing. So
Yes.
what I have is an older one, like I will master 500 I have, but whether I should go for 700, when to do that, or this is giving a good results, there is no harm in it. These are all the issues bothering us. Should I really replace, or whether I have the money so I want to replace, or can I go on like that because my results are extremely good, I don't have any problem with that. This is a botheration for me. What do you say?
So if you are happy with the results of that equipment, then there is no need to replace with a high featured equipment. If you want the other additional features, then you can replace with that higher end equipment. So that is
Simple things, sir. Don't try to fix what is not broken.
That is another thing. True. Yeah,
I
please.
think in all this, sir, I think 7 or 8 years, even when you change an equipment, assuming it's the IOL 500, Master 500 or 700, always go for a buyback of the old machine. I think otherwise your old machine, you think you may use it, but you'll never use it. It'll be a junk.
Yeah.
And finally, there is no value. So you can negotiate when your buyback, at least you'll get whatever 10, 15% of the value that you will get. And there is a loyalty that you establish with the company, whichever company it is, if the product is good. I think that is another way to look at it rather than outright,
Okay.
buying another brand and all that. If it's possible to buy the same brand, then better to exchange. Even other brands. In fact, the other brands may give you better value for your old equipment because you are changing brands. So
Is there any question from the audience? Do you have anything, please?
he's coming.
It's a wonderful discussion, sir. Very useful. From the beginning, we are learning a lot of things. That conclusive remarks, what the young ophthalmologists or single ophthalmologist needed is it essential? As everyone said, very good point. Sir said, if the technically oriented, go for the top mission, very good mission. If result, need not worry about it only for sophistication, need not go for sophistication. It's all good. What is the conclusive remarks? Because that Sendil expert
I'm
is
not
there.
concluded. It's still more one more.
One more point is that if we go for bulk purchase, group of doctors and buying, that aspect also
kindly cover? And what is the conclusive remarks we want to know for the young ophthalmologist? Because group practitioners and corporate is different. Somehow they can use that used machine, off-plate machine, outdated machine they can use. They can give it to that sub-center.
Now we'll get that conclusive thing from each one
Yeah,
for the
we
take-home
want
message.
conclusive.
You want to ask any question, please?
No.
Excellent discussion, sir. So, young ophthalmologist, what I'm trying to ask is, for example, you have the option of buying a separate OCT machine. You also have the option of buying an OCT with Opta, with FFA, ICG, and fundus photograph. Yeah, I mean, buying that is a good thing, but for example, if I have some 15 OCT patients waiting, and there are 3 scheduled for FFA and ICGA, 15 patients have to wait till the FFA ICGA, which will go on for at least 40 minutes. So, which will be a better choice? Go for separate, I mean, not talking about the cost, which is better for the patient flow. Buying separate equipments, or I mean, considering if I have an adequate space to have them, going for separate things are better, or going for one thing which comprises everything is better.
Kasturi,
Yeah.
what is it?
Yeah. I think it can be based on the volume of patients. Sir. So if you have more volume number of patients, then you can choose separate equipments. So if you have less, then you can have all together one.
The problem is if something
Yeah.
goes wrong in that machine,
Yes.
the entire thing will get
Get
spoiled.
spoiled.
It's getting it replaced or
Yes.
serviced.
Yes.
So
Until
that
we
is
need to
another thing,
wait.
because combining is okay,
Yes.
but if something goes wrong in some area,
So
you-
all
the
the
whole-
all the
other-
functions of
these
the
are all things that
It's
we
better
feel.
to go for separate equipments.
It all depends.
If
But
I have a good patient flow, I don't want to keep them waiting for any time. And safety of
is that
missing
what
out.
you want to advise him? That's what he's asking.
I think any day separate always has an advantage. See, for example, you asked about OCT and FFA. You put the answer lies in your question itself. You said if I have an FFA, half an hour, 1 hour, nobody can get an OCT done. So it doesn't make any sense to combine a machine which has FFA and OCT. Never. But let us say OCT and fundus camera. If you're going to do fundus picture only for selected patients, it doesn't take more than 2-3 minutes to do it. So if you're going to have a OCT machine with a fundus camera, nothing wrong in it. Because the amount of time you take not doing an OCT is not much. But if you're going to combine an FFA with it, then you will be in serious trouble. So it depends on what you buy, what you try to combine also. And as Madam said, if there's a breakdown, all services are down. So that is another thing against combined machines.
No, and combined machines are not cheaper. Combined, the cost is anyway high. So if you buy separate also, maybe you just pay some little extra money. So it's better to have separate equipments rather than combining. Sometimes there is this 5-in-1 equipment which does everything. I think those doesn't make a real sense.
As a person who's beginning the practice, is it better to buy a low grade, I mean like the lower end of the variant, and then when the person who's selling you always promises that you can keep upgrading, you can keep buying packages, software updates, equipment updates, is that better, or going for the straight money shot better?
Yeah, I think Indian market itself, 90% of the purchases are the basic level instruments. For example, if you take a microscope, the entry level is having the 90% market. So only 10% is the remaining. So meaning everybody is getting at the entry level. So even phaco machine, the highest selling machine is let's say at the price range of 20 lakhs. So not the premium machines are purchased only by 10% of the people. So entry level is the most common. So when you're starting the practice, basically you will get into the entry level. I think that is the
My
answer.
fear on this is, if I buy an entry one, I'm doing really well, and I keep upgrading, what if my machine slows down? What if my machine is not that efficient as before?
It's a good problem to have.
So you will have
In the sense, it's a good problem to have, right? See, if you have the money, then it's a different question. If you're on a shoestring budget, then it's better to go test it. If the market is good, if your people are receiving you, don't worry. If it's a phaco machine, the companies will come and give you, because you will have consumables, you will consume their lenses and all that. I think the question arises where you don't have a consumable. Fortunately, cataract is not one such business. You will get the good companies, they will come and chase you. So I think that is where you should differentiate. OCT is a good question, but as far as phaco and today, please remember, all companies are good today, including what we call as tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 multinationals or Indians. I think the baseline quality has become a lot better, and they become better in your hand if you're getting used to it. If you are used to a phaco machine from one company, you will not be happy with another phaco machine which is much better, because in your hand, in your control, you would have learned the tactile part of it and you will understand the machine. So it's not that the brand or the name, it's what you can afford. You don't want to be in a debt before you even start your practice. That's what we are trying to say. Be conservative, be protective, talk to your friends, don't buy a brand which nobody has heard of. Talk to your friends who has it, they have tested it, and they will tell you about it, and then go for an entry level. There is nothing wrong. The first car that you buy, you won't buy a Mercedes, I hope. You
In
will buy
that
a
regard,
Maruti.
I want to know, is there any way that we can calculate our return on investment for these machines? Because that we don't, as doctors, we are not tuned. We want the need, we want to satisfy it. Dr.
Sir, the return on investment for a practitioner is very difficult,
Difficult.
because you can calculate anything on Excel sheet because you can put any number you want. I'll see 50 patients, I'll do 10 OCTs, but the actual numbers are not in your hand. So I think that's where I'm saying equipment is one part of it, but working bench chair time of the patient, how you deal with the patient, how do you emotionally connect with the community, I think all those are also equally important. Now, I do deal with the companies, but from an institution standpoint. But what I have learned is, don't try to take everything out of a representative. Leave something on the table so that they are also, they have to win. They are also an employee. They are not owner of Alcon and Zeiss is not coming and sitting in front of you. Owner of Appasamy or IOCare, nobody is coming and sitting. So they are also employees. They are trying to make a living. They have a baseline price. So I think we'll have to go to some extent and then forget about it. That's the point I'm trying to make. Don't keep on that.
Last question, if I'm
See,
not
actually, 1 minute. As young ophthalmologist, I wanted to give this interesting story. So one ophthalmologist called me from Kadapa. So he is a young guy, maybe around 35, 36 years old. Started practice around 6 years back. So he wanted to expand the practice. I said, okay, your practice for 6 years now. So maybe how much is the money you have in your bank? He said, I don't have any money, sir. I have to take everything as loan. So I said, what has happened for all this earning for 5 years? He said, sir, this microscope company came and gave me this 50 lakh rupees microscope on a good deal. So I brought that 50 lakh microscope. So I said, for your 5 years, you have been working only for the company. You don't need that 50 lakh microscope at the beginning of your practice because the company gives a good deal. I think what the doctor has to make that smart decision is to see that whether I am able to afford that equipment. And if you are having only 8 or 7 cataracts in a month, why do you want to buy that microscope? Because company gives you that deal. I think that is very important. You need to be smarter in that way.
And one point I want to make.
Stop with that, yeah, please.
So sorry, sir. Just one point regarding to what you would do. See, again, I'll go back to the analogy of buying a car. Let us not even talk about Mercedes. Even if you're buying a Maruti, the same model will have different versions. What you'll go essentially for is the safety features. First time you're buying a car, you won't want a sunroof. You won't want Apple CarPlay. You won't want all those things. So coming back to your example, OCT, you want a basic OCT which will give you a decent image. You don't want an OCT angio. You'll know, or you can talk to your friends who have OCT angio and find out how actually useless it is. Even being a retinal surgeon, I'm using that word. For your day-to-day work, actually it's useless. So you can talk to them and find out. So this difference between basic and advanced is that. So when you're starting off, you should do, as I said, we're coming back again and again to the same part, result. Because ours is a result-oriented work. If that extra money is going to get you a better result, yes, certainly go for it. If that is in question, then you need to think.
Last question, Sendil sir. How to know the correct price of an equipment? Option A, first hand. Option B, refurbished or second hand. Generally, what we do is we go to Amazon, we go to Myntra, then we go to the brand's original website, we compare prices, then we go to the dealer and then decide the price. How do we decide? None of the brands give their prices in their official websites. Second thing is, if ever I'm going to ask my colleague or my friend, what price did you buy it for? It will always be, I brought it a year ago, now it is GST has come, that bill has come, that tax has come, so it is different. So at that present point of time, how to decide, or which is the better price? As Arvind said, there's always going to be a better deal than that. How to
Yeah, I
fix
think
now?
that we have addressed, I think, initially. Is there anything short?
No,
Because
no,
we have
I
got
think,
other.
yeah, it is a very difficult question to answer basically. But you can now with the social media and everything, so there is a lot of ways to find out what the other colleagues have bought. And sometimes there are people like us, because we deal with a lot of these companies, so we know what is the pricing at which people are getting. So those are ways. So it's not so secluded
no
like
strict,
before.
I think.
Now
That-
ways are there.
Now that we have bought the machine, yes, agreed, how to maintain it? This is another major headache that bothering us, and we expect the machine to function properly for all. And leaving it, whether there is some training is needed or some care for that machine is needed, that is not usually given attention. So what should we do? Are we doing right, or there are a lot of ways to improve?
Yeah, actually, we invest a lot of money in that equipment, but most of the practitioner doesn't want to invest in other facilities. Like uh, when you install the equipment, that equipment it should be in a proper earthing. That the electric line should be should have proper earthing. So not only to protect us and also protect the equipment from fault current. That is very important. And the another one is the equipment should not experience voltage fluctuations or thermal fluctuations. So to avoid voltage fluctuations, we can use UPS or voltage stabilizers. And to avoid thermal fluctuations, we need to give air conditioning. So that one. And we should have training, proper training to handle the equipment gently. So for gentle handling, you should have the proper training, and also to maintain it properly, we should know what are the things do and don't with the equipment.
This I agree. This is always bothering me because the staff are always changing. The attrition rate is very high in that segment. Keeping them involved, getting to know, it's very difficult to monitor also. This is the biggest challenge for any practitioner because crores of equipments, but freshly minted student or somebody is joining and we don't have time. How to go about it? Is there any way or troubleshooting?
Yeah, we can make some SOPs. So before starting using the equipment, we can give the manual to the user to go through with that thing and then come back to use that equipment. So first you should understand the do's and don'ts that can do for the equipment and all, and proper maintenance we have to give. So whether it is the annual maintenance contract or CMC, that proper maintenance has to given, and to ensure the quality of the equipment. That means the accuracy of the equipment, the calibration is important.
How to go about that calibration in routine way? We do it only for when the NABH renewal comes, but otherwise we have conveniently forgets all those calibrations.
So all the measuring equipment should be calibrated periodically. For applanation tonometer, the manufacturer suggests to calibrate your monthly once.
Monthly ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
The calibrating tool also comes with that equipment. Even for autoreflectometer, the calibrating tool comes with the
It
equipment.
should be form part of the process that we have,
Yes,
and we should
yes.
give importance to that,
Yes,
only
yes,
the
yes.
calibration.
Yes.
What else that I should look for? Because whenever the company guy comes, he always either blame the staff or my electrical connections or my poor maintenance. He didn't say when he was selling that, but only when the repair comes, all these things are that I am in the, when I see patients, my attention is on carrying the patient, not the instrument. So I pay something, get it done so that the workflow starts. How to prevent that?
So all the matters are involved to maintain the equipment. For example, keep the optics dust-free is very important. Dust-free, moisture-free, stain-free, that is very important. Dust is a big nuisance in the equipment. It's not only spoil the appearance of the equipment, it's also spoil the quality of the equipment. So dust in optics affect the quality of the equipment. Dust in moving parts affects the smooth movement of the equipment. And dust in the PCB boards, and if it's accumulated the vents of the equipment, then it's again spoil the function of that equipment. So that is very important. Keeping dust free is very important. To ensure the smooth mechanical movement, lubricating periodically is very important. For slit lamp and microscope, lubricating the moving parts is very important to ensure smooth movement and all. And finally, the checking of that equipment, whether it is correct power supply is given to the equipment, and whether it is in correct humidity and all, we need to check.
The common word that I heard from the representatives, common motherboard poach, sir. the motherboard concept I cannot understand. Recently, my microscope went down. So I thought microscope involves optics and the lenses, light source. And when they open and show me that there are so many pieces, the technology is advancing so much, it is happening. So in that case, is there any special care that I should do, or what are the things that I should take care? You have anything to say, please?
See, basically, what happens is in India, most of our theaters use cotton sheets. The lint is something that we do not really see. But as a technical person, when I go in for servicing, I find lint across every part of the machine. Lint depositing on the board in various atmospheric conditions where there is dampness does permit short circuiting of the other thing. All this is covered, is supposed to be looked after by the technical person who comes periodically if you are on AMC, CMC. Okay? This is one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is like, let's go back to the cars part of it. A regularly maintained car will give you much more predictable, longer service. Okay, even if you want to sell it, you get a better price for it. So keeping it on AMC, CMC is critical. It is not something that you should look as a cost, because you're not seeing, it's like an insurance for that particular other thing. Second, okay, when do you want to take an AMC, or when do you want to take a CMC? Generally, a good machine for 1, 2, or 3 years should have no practical fault because of the technology. Okay, otherwise it's a wrong decision, or any product that is not established that you have made a purchase on. Thereafter, CMC is bound to happen. Well, do you not have breakdowns in the first 2 years or 3 years? You do, because then it is just like a car. When you start learning to drive, you don't know how to optimally use the clutch and the brake, for example. Or it's the same thing that's happening here also. It's not only the user, the surgeon, it's also the people who are working on the machine on a day-to-day basis. You brought up a very good point. The attrition in your OR staff, who actually take care of 70% of the maintenance of the machine, is high. They pass on the shortcuts they have learned in the process.
Yeah.
And that only builds. That has got a long-term deterrent effect on the machine. So all this has to be avoided, and the best thing to do is to have your AMC in place so that the person comes there. Madam just alluded to the point that, electrical supplies. Not many people realize that, we use the foot pedal to the machine. The foot pedal works on this thing called DAC. DAC voltage from the foot pedal makes the CPU understand what the user wants. The DAC voltage is between, I'm just getting a little technical just to, is between 2.6 volts and 3.7 volts. That's a DAC voltage. That runs the whole machine. And that the inference of that DAC voltage is from the earth, which is supposed to be 0. None of our earths are 0.
The earthing is very poor.
Earth, generally in a dry place, I have seen up to 8, 9 volts. It kills the machine right up front. So periodically checking all this is where an AMC can, and yes, in an institution where you got an established department to take care of it, may be viable. But individual practitioners, please do not shy away from getting into an AMC or a CMC is what I would suggest. Okay?
Point.
I think I'll speak for the individual practitioner here, sir, because it's okay to have a big medical equipment maintenance team and things, but as individual practitioner, it's not going to be that simple or do it. So first thing is physics. Ophthalmology itself is predominantly physics, and all our machines work on physics. So you should have some amount of basic working knowledge of whatever equipment you buy, for 2-3 reasons. One, you know what to buy. You know what to buy and what not to buy based on the technology. Second is, there are small issues like we earlier days we used to keep VCR recorders and also, or a TV. They'll say there's no picture seen on the screen. You see the troubleshooting guide, it will say, ensure the power switch is on or ensure the cable is plugged. So not silly things like that, but some amount of error messages, what it means, the connection, it will be very simple thing, a connection may not be okay. Simple troubleshooting, the surgeon himself should be able to do. You need not have to call a company guy for that. That's the most basic thing. And another reason why you need to know physics is, when there is a problem and the company guy comes and tells you this problem is there, you should be able to catch him if he is lying to you. This happens many a time with individual practitioners. They come and tell you something. Commonest thing is motherboard. And they'll say your UPS is not good. Your UPS capacity, that equipment will be running on 500 millivolt, milliwatt, and you'll be having a 1 or 1.5. He'll say, no, sir, you should put 3, only then it will work, which is totally bonkers. It doesn't make sense. So you should be able to catch him and he's taking you for a ride. So for these reasons, you should know what actually the machine is and what it does, one thing. And as I said, you should be able to troubleshoot small things. And another thing in instrument maintenance, preventing breakdowns is not only preventive maintenance, lot of times equipment start showing small signs. When you use them day to day, they start showing small signs. There'll be a message or some small issue which if you ignore today, it will lead to a shutdown later. So never ignore those small signs. The moment there's a small sign, as long as you're finishing that theater that day, you become happy. No. End of the theater, call the guy, ask him to come and see and ensure that you find out the problem.
Sir, I think one other important thing which we fail to do, it's not only the price negotiation, but when you buy an equipment, you also enter into a purchase contract with the vendor. So many times there is only the invoice you have, you don't have a purchase contract. So the purchase contract will say like, and it is very easy to negotiate for additional 1 or 2 year AMC when you buy the machine rather than taking it during the second year. And a very small amount you can also get warranty. So there are many companies which give you 3-year warranty, which will cover, and what are all the parts which are covered. And many times now we see many of the equipments, the support is discontinued. So the contract will say all these things, like for how many years the support will continue. And if the support is not given, what is the penalty? So there is a purchase contract, so particularly when you are buying something for say 20-30 lakhs and more, it is very important to have a purchase contract. And there are standardized formats which you can use or ask the company. Only when we ask the company, they will give you. Otherwise, you get only the invoice and you don't know which is covered in the AMC or what is covered in the CMC. And
So we should have a record of the maintenance contract. How to monitor that, whether they have done the right thing, whether they have promised that, is there any way, or should we keep a record of this, a copy of it?
Yeah. Actually, according to the contract, we usually make a plan. So this month, this Alcon guy has to come and check those things like that. So according to the plan, we can check all those things and we can monitor the same and we could record the same.
So we have
So
to
it
do
will
that.
help.
So regarding spares, so we should have some spares for any, instead of calling that last minute, is there any way that I can maintain there are certain spares available and it should be in the house so that that can be changed immediately? How to go about it?
Yeah. Every ophthalmic equipment needs some spares. So even direct ophthalmoscope also need bulb as a spare. So like that slit lamp need bulb. And for the electrical thing, we need fuses, different rating of fuses, because different machines have different rating of fuses. So those fuses, power cards, some cables, and for some connectors for the other connectors, like foot pedal connectors, cot foot pedal connectors and all. Some holders, bulb holders for microscopes. So like that, we have to foresee what are the spares needed for this particular equipment. Whenever we buy the equipment, we have to plan for the spares also. So it's better to have the basic spares with us.
Again, this is a problem. The spares will be available, that staff would have gone, and next person will, he will not, or she will not know, and they will start buying the new one. Then one fine day I realize we have too many things. This is a waste of money, and it really bothers me. Is there any way I can have a
Yes,
thing?
there is some asset and spares management system.
System is
Yes,
so
yes.
better. It can give you an alert.
Yes.
It's available.
Yes.
Sir, I would like to bucket this in two different buckets. What we are talking about, I mean, technically, spares are those which are a part of the hardware of the machine. And what you are inferring to is consumables, which is also a part of the machine. Bulbs are consumables. You know that they have got a fixed life. The connector, for example, if it is fixed properly, again, has got a certain amount of this thing. Depending on the usage of those things, you should need to bucket it into the consumable part of it and only retain that one. Second thing, even for those consumables, there is a shelf life. It is not indefinitely the same. I don't know whether you are aware that a halogen bulb has got a shelf life.
I see.
Okay, otherwise, the luminosity, everything suffers.
Okay.
Okay, so optimizing that is very critical. Otherwise, you will be spending money, not really getting the benefits of it. So first thing is to bucket it into spares and consumables, then accordingly maintain inventory. It is not necessary that absolute hardcore spares you need to maintain inventory because it's not going to be productive.
I remember Arvind was the first instrument when Dr. Venkateswamy is there. Instrument maintenance lab was developed, and Dr. Professor Srinivasan was the person who started that. I benefited a lot. I sent my staff, and he used to conduct camps and teach us even simple Simco how you can clean and prolong that life. Are we continuing that? Is there any specific program available for all of us to go and learn for doctors first? And
Yeah.
then our staff.
Yeah. For doctors, we conduct 5 days programs.
5 days program.
Yeah, it's a customized program. So you can choose your equipment, the different types of equipment. Then we'll give the basic
Excellent.
care and maintenance what we can offer, and some troubleshootings also.
Excellent.
That's 5 day course for doctors.
Doctors.
And that is also in-person course, and another one in-person 1 month course for technicians, the
Technician.
biomedical technician, or the people who uses the equipment like optometrist or ophthalmic assistants. They can participate in that. We cover all the basic ophthalmic equipment in that curriculum.
Excellent. That I think is really true, and many we have benefited by those courses and those camps that's been conducted. So this is excellent. So remaining 5 minutes, if there are any question, we can take it up. Or I can ask our panelists to give their final message to the ophthalmologist. Dr. Sriram, your final, what to buy, how to maintain on that basis.
Just go back to what I said. So you buy based on need, not on want, first thing. And don't go for flare when you buy, always go for substance. Go for something higher only when you think it will make a difference in the results. This is regards to buying. Maintenance, yes, first thing you should have some basic knowledge of what you're doing. And like maintaining a car, you have to do regular maintenance and take care of the machine. And yes, AMCs, I wouldn't say it is good to go for AMCs. You should know when to go for AMCs. There are certain equipment which need it, certain equipment which don't need it. Like I have a 12-year-old Zeiss microscope. It's not under an AMC and it's running fine, and I know where to get it done if there is a problem. So if your equipment is something which doesn't have moving parts, not too much of electronics, and there are people outside to take care of it, then it doesn't really need an AMC. You're wasting your money on AMC. But if I have a vitrectomy machine, Alcon Constellation, if I switch it on, if there's an error message, there is nothing I can do about it. So I'd better be on an AMC for it. So you should know when to go for an AMC.
Suresh.
I 100% agree with what Dr. Sriram said. I just come to the next thing that pricing, please understand that, even if you get it as a bulk purchase, a person in the trade will get the money out of you. So don't squeeze him like what Dr. Arvind said. Don't squeeze him, leave something on the table. There are so many ways that the company or he will make sure he gets it out of you.
Okay, summarize. Next. Is there one thing? Start, Dr.
Yeah, I think we give a lot of importance to the tangible part of a practice, which is equipments, place, and everything. But many successful practitioners will have the intangibles right. The tangibles usually follow the intangibles. I think we should always keep that perspective right. Because how do you deal with the patient? How do you connect with the patient? How do you empathize with them, compassionate with them? So I don't think equipments are a substitute for all of that. So I think equipments have a place, but equipment is not the only thing that determines your destiny of your practice. It is who determines the destiny of the practice. Find your affordability, what you can afford, and start with what you have. But if you can compensate with the intangibles, patients tend to be loyal to you. I think that's the message I want to share.
Thanks. Sindhil.
Yeah, in continuation with what Dr. Arvind said, when you go to the websites or brochures of hospital, they say these are the equipments I have. But I think you have to think from what are the things which my patients need. Then I think the whole scenario will change. Rather than trying to push what you have, understand what your patients need, then base your purchase and everything based on that.
Sorry.
In my point of view, that is no matter where you buy or how much you invest, but the maintenance is very important. So prevention is always better than cure. So maintaining the equipment and gentle handling can prolong the life of the equipment.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really thank all the panelists for excellent presentation. I learnt a lot. I hope you will also be learnt a little. And thank you for foregoing your lunch and staying with us. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.